Hello, everybody. A warm welcome. This is Paul from the Gorillas. We've got Rob in the background. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Yeah, not too bad at all. A bit warm and sweaty already. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. It's lovely, lovely. Right, I did send an email out, and we did discuss that we're going to be doing the AMA Suite 5 walkthrough. However, I personally have some technical issues. I've changed my computer, and I'm having difficulties getting in. So I did send an update email out saying that we're going to change and swap this around. And this week we're going to be doing the Jungle Scout web app instead of the AMA Suite. So we'll get into AMA Suite next week, don't worry. So between Rob and I, we're going to be going through the features, the benefits, and basically we're going to be doing some product research live using the web app. So probably the best thing to do is, do you want me to drive this, Rob, or do you want to do it?
Why don't you start driving, and then I'll come right behind you in the deal. And
that sounds.
Yeah, you drive it, and I'll direct your driving. How about that?
That sounds good. Backseat driving, whatever.
That's what I just said. I'll be a backstreet driver.
Right, let me just pull this up now. The Jungle Scout web app is a totally separate download. So basically, what you need to do is just log into the platform. I'm just going to share my screen so we can have a look. Right, I should now be presenting. So basically, this is the main page when you log in, and you can see what your account is all about. So basically, up the top here, we've got a number of different areas. We've got product tracker. We're going to have a look at that later on. Product database and niche hunter. And then you've got the Chrome extension. The Chrome extension, I think everybody's familiar with that. It's basically just the Chrome extension on the top here. And we can use that in conjunction with this web app. So the first place to start is product database. Okay, so we just click into the product database at the top here. And that's going to bring you up a new interface, which looks like this. Basically, if I just scroll down, we'll be able to see that. And what I'm going to do is just going to increase the size of my screen a little bit. So I'll zoom in.
Why don't you go ahead and explain? Let's start out very basic, so anybody who hasn't actually looked at the Jungle Scout app, kind of give them basics of what this whole process and the platform for the web app is, because this is specifically about the web app today.
That's right. That's right. So as you can see, this is basically the web app, and what it allows you to do is just drill down and apply filters. Now let me just go through one step at a time. So over on starting on the left-hand side, working over to the right, we've got the marketplaces. Now, when they first started, they just had sort of the United States or the USA. Over the recent months, they've added the additional sales platforms. We've got Canada, Germany, some of the South American countries, and Europe over here. So you can actually choose the platform you're actually selling on or looking to sell on, and go from there. So we're interested in the United States, so I'm just going to leave it on to the United States. So that's now highlighted with the all familiar orange circle there. Now under that, we have categories. Now these are the main categories that align with Amazon itself. The top categories there. So you can either select all categories or turn off all categories, or go ahead and just highlight or select the individual category that you would like to do some searching in. Now the strategy is that we talk about is to start with, steer clear from categories that you're not ungated in. Yeah, so in other words, if you are ungated at any of the gated categories, that's fine. But don't worry about looking into anything that you can't actually list on to start with. So I wouldn't look in appliances, for example. Arts and crafts is okay. Automotive, baby is good. Beauty's gated, so I wouldn't look into that in general. But you can just go down cell phone accessories. That's the very, very competitive area to be in. So I wouldn't look into that either. Cameras and photography, and clothing as well. As you need ungating in that. So, but home and garden, for example, if you fancy having a look into that, you just click on it, and that's going to highlight the individual one. So you've now selected one individual category that you can start looking and applying filters to. And we'll come over to the filters in a second. So I'm going to leave that on home and garden. I potentially do home improvement as well, home and kitchen. That's always bringing up the same items for me because I'm in the home and kitchen, or one of my products or several of my products are in that area. So I'm just going to steer clear of that for the moment and go home improvement. So as you can see now, I have selected 2 categories there. You can select as many as you want, but the more you select, the greater the number of results you're going to get once you start to do this. So what I'm going to do now is just clear these filters for the moment. Okay, just delete all of those. And let me just walk through each of these. So these are the filters that you start to look at. So price, we already know from our strategy, we were looking for price. We were selling as a minimum of $17 and a maximum of $50. And the reason now, just to reiterate, the reason now is anything less than $17 as a selling price, there's not going to be that much money from a profit point of view by the time you've taken out the cost of the actual product, the shipping of the product, FBA fees, and everything like this. Is just not going to be that much profit in order for you to reinvest into the business. Anything over $50, and the cost of your initial purchase of products may be a little bit steep, may be prohibitive in some cases. So that's why we're saying just keep it in that sweet spot between sort of $17 and $50. Okay, so that's what the pricing is. Just for the day, I'm just going to put that in at 17 and 50. Okay, and if I do the search now, that's just going to bring up every single thing that is priced between 17 and inclusive and 50 and inclusive. So anything 17 and above or below 50 and in home and garden and home improvement. Okay.
And the reason we're doing that, and the reason we picked those numbers, and you could pick any number you wanted. You could go, we just don't suggest you do anything less than 17 because the margin, there's no margin after 17 that you could make. Even making $1 or $2 would be maybe difficult in that $17 area. Whereas if you do a higher number than 50, it comes down to how much money do you want to invest up front. Because even if you're doing a test products launch, what's happening is that you multiply. Let's say that you got a $20 product. It costs $20, cost wise to acquire the $50 product. Well, now you got to multiply 100 times 20. That's $2,000. And you're only, you can't do as much, and it costs more money to do your testing on that product. And if you're just starting out, if that then can be cost prohibitive, meaning you're not going to be able to get that many, and you're gonna have to put out more capital if you go above 50. Now, again, Paul, go ahead and change that to 60 today, just because you can, because people tend to see if that's the number, that's the only number they want, and make it 22. It doesn't matter what you put in here. These are just numbers that we've randomly. So 22 and 60 today, because if you keep doing the same thing, you keep getting the same results. So, all right. So the next one is the net. Now, it's not totally specific that you do the net. You can, and one of the ways in which we do the net is if you think that you would like to make ideally a you'd like your fees at Amazon, when this is the net money that Amazon's going to pay you after you're done. And imagine you don't know what your costs are and what everyone else's costs are. So this doesn't really give you a super accurate thing, but it'll give you an idea of like how much the fees are sometimes. So, because we don't want to deal with products typically that have fees more than 30% and actually 25. So what we want is so on the good end, we really want about 75% of the retail price coming back to us, which means Amazon's going to get 25%. So if you take 75% of, hold on, let me grab that. 75% of the $22 will give you the number that you're looking for there. So 22 times 0.75 is okay. So our net that we'd like to get from Amazon is at least $16.50. So you can put that in there. So that's the minimum that we'd make. And if you wanted to use the maximum, there's no maximum because you don't care if it, right? You don't care if it costs 15%. So you don't care if you got that. So there's no reason to put a maximum in there under the strategy that I use. You might have a reason why you'd want to have a maximum. That's basically maximizing, saying I only want to make so much money. So maximizing them, the max number of net, there's no reason to put a max number because you don't care if it makes more money or they get better payouts. So if they get 100 and Amazon only charges them $5, you don't care. So that's the reason for that. All right. So now we go to number 2, the rank. So the rank here is basically, that may be a good idea. Maybe I'll just read those as we go down through, Paul. So we want to select the minimum and the maximum bestsellers rank. So your bestsellers rank, and those of you may not know what that is, bestsellers rank is where does it rank in the main category that it's in. So these are all the categories over here to the left. So where does it rank in this category? So if there are 1 million products in that category, it pops out a number. Now, based upon the strategy that we're and the gorillas are trying to enact, which is to be in these small niches. So my thought process is people tend to always, and other ways in which I see people look for stuff on Jangle Scout, they typically look for stuff and they go, okay, I'm gonna look for stuff between 1 and 10,000. Okay, so we're gonna look at stuff between 1 and 10,000. The issue is that those are the best selling products there are. Well, if you don't have a large budget and you haven't been doing this a long time, why in your first match with in the professional Amazon business or the professional Amazon sport, why would you go out and try to attack the number 1 guys? So I'm not even looking for those guys right now because they're not on my radar. What I'm looking for is a guy that's ranked similarly where I want to be ranked very quickly. So I tend to look for stuff, a little higher in rank, because then that's going to give me an indication that, okay, look, this guy's making the kind of money that we're going to put it in America, and he's on a page that's further back. So as far as rank, sometimes I'll do 10,000. Listen, these numbers kind of get arbitrary sometimes. I mean, we want to have some idea, but like they're not stuck. So I'm going to quit saying the exact same number each time, because then I only can do that. So today, let's go from 7,500 rank, Paul. Okay. And then because we need a top end, today, let's go to 25,000. Now, other people would go in here and they would put 3,000 to 10,000. Now, my deal is the lower rank the product is, the lower rank that number is, the more competitive that environment gets right there. So we're not looking for competitive environments. So today we're going to put in 7,500. I just had a thought that we put in 15,000 a second ago. You can put whatever number you want in here, but you want it to me to be above 7,500 for sure if you're looking for a small niche product. Because what we're looking for is hey, I want to eventually be in that. I want to eventually be in that category. But are you going to start out trying to gain towards the front page? Well, obviously we want to do that, but let's shoot for a little lower level so that we can, really shoot it and get it, captured based upon our skills of not ever doing this before. So 7,500 and 25,000. All right. So estimated sales. Now, all right, I'm willing to today to put this in. Typically, so this is going to allow us to estimate the number of units. Now, this is units that are sold. Now, to me, units aren't as important to me as how much revenue. Now, that just happens to be a personal preference again. So to me, you can put the estimated sales in, but so let's do a minimum. Okay, today we'll do a minimum so we don't get anything that's super low. So let's go with a minimum of 60 sales a month, so 2 a day. Because there's products out there that sell 2 a day that you can make $1,500 to $2,000 a month on, if you're not in a $17 product. Now, as far as the top end sales, we can put in today, Paul. Let's put in, let's go with 300. So all this is going to do is filter a little bit different and better. Now, obviously, I've done these things before where I've not put anything in there. I'm just trying to show you that you can put stuff in there. I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, you're just trying to come up with a list that has some what I call the signs of gold being in the hole is what we're looking for. I use the analogy, and Paul and I use the analogy all the time about looking for gold and golden nuggets. Well, the thing is we're just trying to dig up a hole where the gold would be, but doing some testing to kind of make sure that we're not digging someplace where there's no gold. And so this is what this is trying to do. So no matter what you put in here, these things, it's just going to give you pieces of gold, and you're going to go in and look at them anyway. We're just trying to spend less time looking at products that may not work. But that doesn't mean that all of these products, unless they're super competitive, won't work. And typically because of this number right here, I mean, you could almost sometimes search for just one thing and it'll give you some indications of stuff going on there. All right. So estimated sales, we want at least 2 a day, and more than 10 would be too competitive for me right now, just out of the gate for what I'm looking for a new product. Estimated revenue. Now, so revenue to me is typically what we're shooting for is a product that will sell and we can, make between 30 and 40%. So my deal would be is estimated revenue. So if I want to make a minimum of 30%, so, and you're talking about trying to make at least $500 a month profit. So $1,500 in revenue estimated would be the bottom I'd want to deal with. All right. And then let's put $10,000 in and $10,000 in revenue, because here would be now, by the way, yes, I mean, this is a gross number, not the net. I'm just multiplying this times 30, which would then, if you take the 1,500 times 30%, you're going to make about $500. On the other one, you'd make about $3,000. Now, the reason we don't want to get above 10,000 right now is because if you do above $10,000 in revenue or sales, that means you got to carry that inventory. Unless you're prepared to carry inventory right out of the gate, which means it's cash flow, and we've spoken about this on many, many, many times. But ultimately, if you don't have cash flow, you can't buy product in the future, which means that you're gonna have to have supply of product in your account at Amazon or en route from China coming here so that you can have supply to sell. You run out of inventory, your business is done. So you got to have inventory. So meaning if you sell $10,000 a month, that means you're going to have $3,000 or $4,000 worth of product in Amazon to sell it. Whatever time it takes for it to get from China here, you have to have that payment out. So, now all of a sudden, if you're doing that kind of number, you're going to have $10,000 or $15,000 worth of income. Worth of product, because if you sell $30,000 or $40,000 over a 4-month period, that means you're going to have all of that income is going to have to be or not income, I'm sorry, all of that inventory is going to have to be paid for up front. So if over a 3-month period and it takes you, let's say 60 days, you want to give yourself some cushion. So basically you have to have 90 days worth of inventory at $3,000 or $4,000 per 10,000 per month. So that means you'll have to come up with liquid cash of $10,000 to $12,000. So if your product out of the gate, another reason why we don't want super competitive is because if your product comes out of the gate and it comes out so fast and all of a sudden you're doing $10,000 a month and you run out of inventory, well, first of all, you have to then have that much inventory in stock. Secondly, you've got to then pay for that inventory, and you may not be in a position. And I know people have lost their product. I know people have been calling their father-in-law and asking their father-in-law to help them out. So obviously we don't want to do that ideally. So that's why the $10,000. And I'm trying to get a little more detail without confusing anybody, because before I've done this where I haven't filled in all of these things. I'm just trying to show you that you could, if you use some of the logic in the strategy and you put it in there, that's why I'm putting these numbers in, just to give you some ideas. You could take out any of these. Like, this isn't like a magic product picker. It's just giving you some indications that these products have these. This is a filtering mechanism is all it is. There's 20 million products in a barrel, and you're going in and you're just filtering through this. All this is really a basic spreadsheet ultimately underneath it. Right, Paul? I mean, you're more technical at this stuff than I am, but.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Exactly.
It's just a big giant spreadsheet with an interface on it that you search up, and then it goes and it has already scraped all of this information out there, and it has it in a database, and you're literally just going in and scraping the database. Actually, a pretty simple program, except for getting the data all taken out. Now, AmaSuite does it a little different. AmaSuite actually searches live on Amazon, so it's always 100% up to date, whereas the Jungle Scout app doesn't quite search as much, and it doesn't do all these other countries either. It doesn't do Canada, Germany, and all these other countries as well, and all these other markets. Just does US and UK. All right, so number of reviews. Here's another thing where can you move this around? Yes, but we'd like to have stuff with a minimum, let's call in the minimum really isn't either, because you can find a product has 0 reviews, and if it meets all these criteria, then it's great. So let's put up 2 reviews, because it doesn't matter. You could put up 0, you could put up 10, you could put up whatever number you wanted, but we want it to be on the low end. The low end doesn't matter. Now on the high end, we would like products that sell that don't have tons of reviews. So let's keep that under 100. So now that's the top end. Now the bottom end, you could put, why do you care if something has a 0 review or 2 reviews? It doesn't matter. That 2 is just an arbitrary number. I'm just trying to fill these all in today, because people always ask, well, I have all these filters. Why can't I use them? Well, you can. I'm just showing you ways in which you can use them and still make it make sense. So reviews, 2 could be 0, could be 10. This could be 100. But ideally, the reason in my thought process behind the 100 is that if it has these kind of numbers, it has lower amounts of reviews, then you could use it. Paul, go ahead and make it 75 so you can switch it around. All we're trying to do is create products that have characteristics of products that we could do in a small niche. So a characteristic of the product could be that it has 75 reviews or has 50 reviews. But if it has more than 75 reviews, it may not have all these characteristics. We're just trying to find the most characteristics that work the most in this database. The rating, my thing about rating isn't, do we care whether that specific product has a great rating? Not typically, but if we're going to do that, let's go ahead and add a rating. So how about products that have less than 4, or 3 stars? There you go. So today we're going to look for products that have lower amounts of reviews, have a rating under 3. All right. And then, so now we're looking for products that have a rating under 3, meaning they got no good, nobody likes their product. They have less than 75 reviews. They make between $1,500 and $10,000 in sales a month. Their rank is between 7,500 and 25,000, and they're at least making 30%. And we know what the price is. So we've done all those things. Great. Now let's go to weight. Okay. Typically, we like to be under 1 kilo, which is 2.3 pounds. One of those tips I always say is that, Paul, a good number that my estimate is, I mean, and it's really probably above typically, but $6 a kilogram. Is that the market rate right now? Or I'm sure it's within $1 or $2 of that usually.
It is, yes. Yeah, it's $6 per kilo for air freight.
Right. So that's just the way in which when you're looking and you're going, well, how much is it? And you were trying to get a quick evaluation of a product. Well, you know that if a product weighs 2 pounds, it's going to cost you about $6. So if it costs you, if you're like, okay, look, I found one of the things I try to do is if I'm out there and I'm looking at something and I go to Alibaba and it gives me that small number, and it's very hard to get a number. Sometimes it's accurate from Alibaba, but maybe you're on Alibaba wholesale and it says on the screen with Alibaba wholesale because you're ordering from wholesalers or manufacturers that wholesale. But you look on the screen, it says, oh, right now you can buy this product and you can buy it for $6.95 and you can order it right now. So if you can put in an order, that tells you that they'll sell that product at $6.95, and ignore their price for shipping because that's an algorithm they put in that they really don't keep up well with on Alibaba wholesale. So you can't really use their shipping number. And then how you're going to estimate that is that they'll sell it to me for $6.95. It weighs 1 kilo. That's now $12. So I know that no matter what, I could procure that item for $12. Well, if it sells for $25 or $30, then I'm in good shape. And so that tells me, okay, now I understand that thing is, that is done now, in the sense that I know that I know that that's a possibility, and I can put that product in my small list. And that's just quickly, because I do this all stuff in my head, and it's gonna be a little harder right now for you if you haven't looked at this a bunch of times. But it's just a matter of me trying to figure out how quickly this and disqualify or qualify this product is really what we're looking at doing. All right. So maximum 2.3, but today, let's call it 3 pounds. How about that? Because you don't have to be at that number. That just gives you a better indication. So maybe we're going to try to stuff a little that weighs a little more today. Might cost you a little more to ship it, but maybe there's enough of a margin. Maybe if you said, okay, I want to go higher price products and I can handle higher weights. So instead of going 22, we raised it today. So maybe we can go a little bit more. Meaning that we raise the price to 22, and lots of times we search at 17. Now, we've raised that, from 17 to 22, which gives us a little more room for some more weighty projects. Now, remember, if you take any of these top end numbers, you're just then coordinating. You're not going to have as many products to look at a time, which is fine. And you could start out super tight, where we could go, and maybe on the second run when we look through, we'll look at super tight products. Like, hey, we'll coordinate this down and go from $22 to $26, and that's all there is. Sometimes you'll filter yourself out, meaning you'll filter it so far down there isn't any product. So be careful of that. If that happens, then you just go back and you change up your parameters. Number of sellers. Now, number of sellers has to do, and the truth is, we want a maximum of 1, right? And here's why. If you're looking at products that have multiple sellers, they're typically, that may become a problem if that's what you're doing, because you're talking about picking products that would have multiple sellers. Means they're not private label products typically, or they're national brands. So we want someone there's only one person selling it. That means it's probably closer to either being a private label product that we could then go in and be equal to what their sales are. The listing quality, well, Paul, I can tell you this really, Paul, I don't use this often. So explain to me myself exactly what the listing quality, as far as you understand, and how their scoring system is. And I guess it reads it right there.
Well, what Jungle Scout have done is they've actually generated their own algorithm that takes into account, I think, the 4 basic elements of a listing. And they look at the title, and they look at the length of the title and the number of words in that. I'm not sure whether they actually look at keywords or not, but they certainly look at the length of the title. They look at the number of images. You're allowed 9 images, so they rank it on how many images there are. They also look at the bullet points with respect to how good the bullet points are, as in lengthwise, the number of words in the bullet points. Also the description, how long the description is. Basically what they do then is rank it between 1 being a really, really bad listing and 100 being a fully, totally optimized, brilliant listing. So that's basically what they've done now.
Okay. So we're going to change the filter today. Now, like, please, please, please don't get caught up in these numbers. The main numbers you want to deal with is that $1,500 number for sales revenue. You want to have at least $1,500. Okay. And then you want the price. You could almost just search with those two and you'd be all right. But these are just different ways and different combinations, hopefully, to fill up different products today. All right. So the listing quality. Well, let's try to find something that has all of these parameters and it has a bad listing, let's say. So let's go with anything under a C, a 70. All right, and we don't care if it has a 1. I mean, that would be neat if it had a small number and it did a 1 and it was selling all of that stuff up above it. All right, so we've come up with review, the price between $22 and $60, the net between $16 and 0. We don't care if it makes, more money, which would be fine. The ranking of between 7,500 and 25,000 ranking. The estimated sales per month, a low end of 60, which means 2 a day, up to 10 a day. Get above 10 a day, maybe too much. Now that isn't, that number can move around because I really care more about the amount of revenue. $1,500 to $10,000 is probably more important to me. So if you take the price and the estimated revenue, those 2 things, and reviews, if I just did those 3 things, those are the most useful things here to me, but you can use these other parameters like I've been showing you. All right, so estimated revenue, 1,500 to 10,000. The number of reviews between 2 and 75. I picked a random number at 2. 75 just shows you that there's not a lot of reviews, and then that'll find a product that's selling. So what we're looking for is a product that has $1,500 a month in sales and has, 5 reviews. That tells us, okay, well, I could do that. I can sell $1,500 and make my $500 a month because we're looking for a product that we can similarly copy, not the one that's doing $300 a month. We're trying to find one that we know for sure that if we use good technique and we have a good product that we can rank on page 2 or 3 and still make our 500 and eventually work our way up, but not as to start out of the front. We just started this business. We're just getting into business. Yeah, I'm going to go in and compete with a guy that's been doing this for a year or 2 years or 5 years or 10 years. Okay. So then we go down to the rating. Well, now we've decided that the rating, that's the satisfaction of the number of stars they have. So they got a lower rating and their weight is 3 pounds or below. And we picked that number because we decided typically you wanted about 1 kilogram. 3 is a good number. It's a little bit underneath that, but that tells you it'll be about $7 or $8 probably to ship that as opposed to 6 because it's a little more expensive. Number of sellers, we don't want more than 1. To me, that's probably a very important one as well. And the listing quality, we're going to find something with hopefully a small listing. All right. So that's all of the parameters in there. So let's hit, and then we go up to the top. So the product tier. Now this is standard and oversized. Once you get into oversized, like it's really bad that if you do an oversized package, the amount of money for Amazon to sell it gets a whole lot more. But today we're going to search for oversized, and here's why. We used all these other parameters. So if you use we know that the bottom line on the low end, you're going to get the $1,650. So that shows you even with that number on the net, you're still going to get paid your number. So that's the reason I'll do oversized. You could search for it. Sometimes you not search for it. This is just an exercise in trying to put some products in your face when you get done with this that give you an indication that they are a product that you might be able to do. Number of seller or the sellers. I don't care if Amazon sells it. I don't care if it's fulfilled by merchant. Now, today, let's, Paul, I'm going to bet you we've cranked this down so much today that we may not have anything. But what we'll do today is let's look for a guy that has all these parameters and he's selling it out of his garage. Amazon's selling it. Really, Amazon does very few of their own private label products. What they do is they'll approach a seller and they'll do what they call vendor express, which basically means Amazon is pre-buying your product, some of it, and they give you some advantages in your listing. But I think there's actually, to me, in my opinion, and people that have done it, is that it typically gives you more problems of changing your listing and doing some things than the advantages I see it make. So when you see the word Amazon selling it, it's probably an 85% chance that Amazon's not actually selling it. They just made a deal with that manufacturer. They give them the advantages, but it isn't significant that I can see. I know people in Vendor Express has not done them a dang bit of good, and it's actually complicated. So they actually have a Vendor Express listing and another listing outside of it. So, but today, and then fulfilled by Amazon, we obviously understand that's what we're trying to do. But today we're going to say, okay, you know what? I'm only look for people who fulfill by merchant. Means they got it in their garage. They do all of these things over here. And, that gives me an indication that, wow, these guys we're looking for the golden nugget of all golden nuggets today. All right. And then as far as a keyword, if you want to search for a specific keyword or exclude a keyword, that's up to you. I don't know what you'd put in there. I can't even think of a reason why I would put a search a keyword in there unless I was looking for something. Like if I didn't have any other programs and I was looking for bike equipment or something like that. So bike or whatever. Or let's assume you found a product out in here and you look and you want to go search for all the products that have that keyword. That might be a good way too, but you'd have to eliminate all of the filters. All right, search it up. Dun dun da da.
It's showing one product.
Well, there we go. We've got it. All right, let's buy it. Let's just do it. I'm in. Let's just make the call.
So this shows you that having these tight criteria, like Rob said, you can actually filter yourself out of the game at some point. Now, what you do here is just go back and change some of those parameters. One of the obvious ones to start with would be an FBA change. So just make that one change. Okay, so we'll leave FBM in there, fulfilled by merchant, and we've included now fulfilled by Amazon. And let's just press search again. Let's just see how many it comes up with now. Just a few more, just 3. So, but you've got to bear in mind that these are very tight filters that we've actually put in there. So out of the 28 million products, we've filtered this down to 3. That's it. It could mean these are, as you say, Rob, the gold nuggets of all gold nuggets. So let's have a look at these 2 products anyway. So I'm going to go from the bottom. So on the results, we can go back and filter in a minute. I just wanted to walk through the actual results itself. So you can filter down. And as you can see, this is pretty much an interactive set of results. You can see if you hover over here, it's going to give you more details. And what you can do is you can see that the parameters that we've actually set, these are the actual details that the results have actually provided us. So starting over here, we've got the estimated revenue, and you can see that on each of those, and that does actually meet the criteria of over the 1,500. Set the number of sales, estimated monthly sales is the quantity. So you can see that we're doing that. The selling price as well. You can see the home improvements is the category. But bear in mind, we only clicked over the 2 categories on that. Now, if you want to go and have a look at that, you can just expand this out, sort of view that on Amazon to start to analyze what we're doing over here. So you can see the product sales page on Amazon itself. So we just click that expand out into view on Amazon button, and that's opened that up in the Amazon sales page itself. Now, once you're over here, you can then start to analyze where you are. So this is sort of spy cam, mirror, table clock. I'm not sure what the keywords are here. It's hidden camera, I guess.
I would
So
guess.
I'm gonna
I would guess that it's hidden camera.
hidden camera, yeah. So I'm just going to put that up here, paste that in there, change that from camera to photo to all departments, and then just hit the search. So we get the overall results page for that key term. Okay, and this is where you sometimes need to change up some of the key terms. All right, so we've gone from the web app and we've had a look at this particular one. This product meets all the criteria we set. Okay, we've now had a look at that on the Amazon page and we've pulled that up. We've put the key search term into the search bar. We've then pulled up the complete results for that particular search term. You would then go in and do the Jungle Scout Chrome extension to see what the overall category is like. Now, you got to go back to products to avoid. This is always one that we do automatically because we're doing it all of the time. The products to avoid list includes glass or anything that's breakable, electronics, simply because things do go wrong and they will go wrong. And therefore, if things go wrong, you're going to get returns, you're going to get low stars, poor reviews, etc. Ingestibles, as in things that you swallow or put on your body or put into your pet's sort of body, steer clear of things like that. Now, if you look at these results, sort of these two here sort of fall under that category of electronics. So I would automatically discount these anyway, because I'd be looking through the products to avoid list in my mind as I'm looking at those results. But anyway, you can see here that you can see the overall results from pulling up Jungle Scout Chrome extension, the estimated revenue. So I can just filter that, go from largest to smallest. You can see the drop there. And again, this, once you start to analyze this, you're using a number of different components to analyze a product to see if it goes onto the short list, because this isn't the complete story. You know, you need to go off and do some investigation. You need to go and find potential suppliers, a number of different suppliers for the same product, and things like that. So, and again, this is why we talk about a short list. You know, have yourself a short list of 5 to 10 products that you can move forward with and do that further investigation later on before you actually say, you know what, yep, I found a product, this is it, let's go and buy it. There's a little bit more in depth to that. So I'm not particularly happy with the 3 results. That doesn't give us enough information really to make a reasonable step forward with respect to, okay, I'm actually making progress with my shortlist. So I think we need to make some changes here, Rob.
All right.
So we can,
the biggest thing, well, I mean, you could put Amazon in there.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do one change. So I'm an engineer by trade, and they always say that when you're doing some testing, only change one thing, run it, analyze the results, and then come back. Because if you're changing too many things at the same time, you don't know what had an effect or what change had the main effect. So let's do that, and it's still got the 3. So that didn't change too much. So it has to be some of the filters over here. So let's on the rating, let's bring that up to a 4. Let's do the search there, see what that comes up with. See, just going from a 3 to a 4 has gone from 3 results to 84 results. Okay, so now we've got this slightly larger list. We can actually start to scroll through. Now, I mentioned earlier that we automatically apply the products to avoid checklist as we're moving through this. If you haven't got that in your mind already, the best thing to do is just print that out. We've got a copy of that inside in the membership area. Just print that off, have that next to your keyboard, and as you're scrolling through this, you will be able to say, okay, does that meet the criteria? Is that on the products to avoid list? For example, these top 2 here, lamps or bulbs, depending on where you come from. One, potentially that's glass, probably plastic these days, but electronics for sure. Is it going to go wrong? It could do, potentially. It's not on my list. It's on the products to avoid list. Replacement battery for a branded product. Steer clear. Steer clear. It's on the products to avoid list. So, and you would actually automatically do that as you move through this. We've got the solar lamps here. That's not a branded product, but it's sort of some electronics in there.
Well, those photo cells could certainly not work.
Yeah. You see these a lot. These are the water filters. Again, they're just replacement parts for branded things. Sofa legs. That may be an interesting one. That is totally random.
Yeah, that actually may be interesting. See, okay, so when I see something like that, it looks a little bit odd, and I'm trying to figure out, oh my gosh, like that's unusual. It's not sexy, but you could see, like, I know somebody who's doing all right. They're not killing it, but they're making their money every month, and they sell the legs for a office chair. So, you get an office chair and those little legs break. Well, I'll tell you this, my chair, I wish I could get some of those right now. And because in Asia, the couches tend to be like on the ground. So I may be in the market for some of these. All right, go ahead and let's go look at it.
Yeah. So let's close down the hidden camera section. So we've got a 7-inch mid-century. That's the style, I guess. Tapered legs, walnut finish. Let's have a look at the actual product itself. As I scroll down, you'll notice I come across this table here, or this graph. Now this is Keeper. We've mentioned this before. There's KEEPA. So this is a free download. Basically go in there, download it, and automatically brings up the graph within the listing itself. And that gives you a number of sort of useful pieces of data. The green line is your sales rank, or the BSR, the bestseller rank. And you can see there that it's been fairly steady over the past few sort of months. The blue line is the daily price. You can see that is remained steady over the past few months. That hasn't changed at all, so that's a good indication. There's a couple of oddballs in here where we've got some additional sellers, and that could well be returns, and actually Amazon selling those, believe it or not. But this Keeper does give you some useful information when you're looking at some trends, and a stable product that's been selling quite well over a period of time.
And that's just
go ahead, Rob.
That's a bonus. That's a bonus to hear, that Keepa software, and you can see it installs right on the page. It basically puts it in HTML and then pulls it and puts it in the middle of your page. So I'm always shocked that thing does that. It looks like it's part of Amazon, but it's not. It's just a piece of software that then it must change the HTML and put that code in there, and then that's how you're able to see it. But it's built in, so when, like you said, you just look down down this page and you'll get to see this. Now, this thing also will let you put some price alerts and things like that. And it's typically used a little more for arbitrage. So if you track a bunch of products, and then if you see a big dip in a product where it goes on sale, so if this product was selling, very good, and then it dips in price, then it would give you the indication of that products may go want to buy that to do retail arbitrage with it, is why this is there.
Yes, indeed. So basically what I was doing coming down here is just look at some of the more information down here. So I want to try and have a look at the weight and the size of these things as a product. We can see there's 1.4 pounds, so that's well under our 3 that we set as a parameter. The product dimensions, it fits within the shoebox. The standard shoebox, 8 by 8 by 8 as a simple test, right? It's slightly longer, but to 18 inches, if you go over that, you're going to go automatically into the larger size description. So that's pretty cool. Over on that, always look at the bestseller rank over here. This is at 9,900 in the top category, but it's number 13 in furniture legs. All right, so that's the subcategory of this product,
which is a really good thing, because one of the things that you're going to find here, it's going to, like, if somebody's selling furniture legs and they're not listed in furniture legs, I mean, they may be competition, but I would imagine they're not like high competition because of that. You know what I'm saying? Meaning they can't be very high competition if that's the case, because they're not listed in the main category. Now, that doesn't mean people don't sell outside of those categories and do all right. So don't think that, but it definitely is, an indication there may be something good there. So, and it also allows you to search easier. And when we go check stuff in a second, we're going to be able to look. Now, remember, we chose products that didn't have good ratings here. So there's an issue with this product somewhere. And you have to be careful. There may be an issue with all of the products there. So I've seen that where, like, every product in the 5 or 6 product category, all of them have poor rating because they just don't work well.
Yeah, and which leads me on to the next area that you need to be looking at as an individual product, because it's got that poor rating that we set as a parameter. Have a look at the reviews, in particular the 1 and 2 star reviews. You can see one over here on the left-hand side. See if we can zoom in over here. There we go. These are bad legs. Shocking that these have sort of such positive reviews. I had 2 break within a week. Now that's all very good, but what you're trying to find here is why, or what were the individual problems? Was it the case of the bolt was loose? Was it poor wood itself, or was it cracked? So basically what we're trying to find is as much information as possible, such that we can actually go to a potential manufacturer and say, look, I want to improve on this particular product, and some of the issues that our competitors have had are the bolt's not very strong, or in this case it's like balsa wood, as in cheap wood, soft wood. It's not very good. Can we make it in harder wood, a different wood? The thread strip, I noticed something over here about a bolt. There's another one about a bolt over here, the thread stripping. So maybe the thread or the bolt they're using is a low tensile steel. Maybe they need to change that to a better steel and make that bolt from. So that could actually improve. And we could actually use that as our a sales pitch on our listing as well. Our bolts are high tensile steel and never strip, whatever. Okay, so what we're trying to do here is trying to find out why that is a low rating, and try and make some notes as you're going through. Have a look at some of these, and there's a common theme here with respect to the bolts. I think the screws, one's cracked there. So you need to make notes as you're moving through, and then these are the points that you can actually bring up with the supplier. So anyway, let's go back to the top. And let's have a look to see if this is a potential product we can put on a shortlist. So let's have a look at the keyword here. We're going to be doing sort of furniture legs, really, aren't they?
Yeah.
Now
Well,
it's strange that they haven't even got the furniture legs in the title.
and they're selling 5,000, and they've got less than 100 reviews. So, hey, we always end up finding something. So when people tell me they can't find products, man, we do this in an hour, and we do it all the time. And I always find something I think's interesting that I certainly would start calling suppliers on.
Yep. Yeah, we've done that quite a lot. So, we could actually stick with that 7-inch furniture leg, but let's have a look, sort of see what else there is. That looks like our seller there that we were actually reviewing. So the 7-inch product there, but we've got a number of different ones here. We could actually put in wood.
But there would be no,
yeah, go ahead.
I mean, the main keyword for this is furniture legs because that's the category that it's in.
Yeah.
So
I'm just going to run. Let's have a look at the numbers, see what the numbers are like. To see whether this is an area that you'd like to get involved in. There's our guy there. They're doing the 5,000. So is there any money in this category? So if we want to get into it. So if I have a look down, the one just above there is IKEA. Obviously, there's a highly branded name. They're doing 4, but there's a few other people in here. Leg Daddy, one would assume that's not a big brand. Doing just under 10,000, 7,000 there, couple of grand there. So there's a few people over our criteria. Now, if you remember the criteria that we talked about, Rob said, okay, let's have a minimum of 1,500. And the reason is because if you split that by 3, we're making 500 profit. So I'm going to use that as a criteria with respect to, no, I'm not interested. Yes, I am interested. So that is over. This one's over. That one's over. No. So we've got 2, 3, 4 listings out of 16 that are not over our criteria. The rest of them are over our criteria. So what does that mean? This goes on my shortlist. That's what that means. So you can also have a look at the number of reviews here. This is pretty low in general if you're looking at the overall 16 products on this page. The highest one there is 325 reviews. The rest of it is pretty low, to be fair. That's pretty low.
And on the front page of the main keyword, 1, 2, 3, 4 people are selling them from their garage.
Which is this merch. BB seller. The BB sellers just means the buy box. Now the buy box is simply, let me just move that over here for a bit. The buy box is basically this price here, what you're seeing here. That is basically the buy box. It's the selling price of that particular item at the time. Okay, so you can see the buy box is being controlled by FBA, which is fulfilled by Amazon itself, and merchant fulfilled, i.e. out of a garage, something like this. So you can see that we've gone from using that web app. We initially filtered quite tight. It was very tight actually, because we only had one result. We then mixed it up a little bit, and we've included Amazon and FBA in there. That only gave us an extra 2, so a total of 3. We then changed the criteria from a rating. That's the only parameter that we've changed from the filtering point of view. We've gone from a 3 to a 4, which gave us 84 results, and already we've got a product that is certainly on our shortlist. And as you can scroll through here, you could probably find a few more sort of potential products to fit on your onto your shortlist. But as you can see, this is pretty cool. Now, there's one feature that we haven't talked about, which is this little plus sign over here. Now, what that does is that actually puts the product onto a product tracker, what they call a product tracker. So if I just press that now, that's going to add that to my product tracker. You can see a quick notification come up here saying, okay, that's now been added. So if we go over to the product tracker, we've got some sample products in there that you'll be able to see. But you'll see this first one come in here. Now, what you need to do is just let that run for a little bit, for a few days. And what that does is the Jungle Scout will go and track the data over a period of time with respect to how many units are sold, what the selling price was on that particular day. So it's going to give you historical data over a 7-day period or an average of 30-day periods. Okay, so we can go on back and have a look at that next week and see where we are. But like I say, it's not going to have too much data in there at this present moment in time, because we've only just added it. But if you just leave that for a few days, that's going to give you some more information. And you can actually have a look at that. So if you can expand and review the charts, it's going to have very little data in there because we've only just added it. But the type of things you can see is the sales rank, see what's doing there. It will also tell you the inventory on stock. It'll also tell you how many units are being sold per day, as well as additional information, i.e. over here we've got some of the criteria that we've already set. Gives you the reviews, the ranking itself, the weight and the dimensions. All right, so by adding that to the product tracker, leave that for a week. And as you can see here, we can have the option of setting that for a 7-day period, 14-day period, 30-day period, which is what we normally monitor things on, and a 60-day period. Okay, so that's good for monitoring products, just to make sure that the sales are consistent and there's no spikes with respect to, okay, if we're looking at this product and it's bearing in mind this is just a snapshot in time. Now it could have been put here because that seller has actually done a promo giveaway, and they've just given away 100 products to boost it, or someone's come along and just bought 100 sets because they want to resell them wherever they're doing. So it's artificially brought that product up, and by adding it to that product tracker, we'll be able to see that. And what we're looking for is just a flat line or fairly consistent results over that period of time, as opposed to any spikes. Okay, so I hope, have you got anything else to add, Rob? Because I know we're sort of right on time at the moment. So, if there's any questions in the chat box? I can't see anything. I'm not sure whether you can still hear me, Rob. I can't see anything. I'm not sure whether you can still hear me, Rob. All right, team, I can't see any questions. It's all looking good. So if we do have any questions, just come back to us. We are monitoring the group all of the time, so just come back, and it'll all be good. So that was a quick walkthrough with respect to and a quite good walkthrough, I think, on Jungle Scout web app. We've had a look at all of the filters, how to apply the filters, and you can obviously see the results from that, and how to actually analyze sort of the results that you're actually getting. And don't forget the the products to avoid, categories, and that's all good. So I'll let Rob finish off. I can't hear Rob, so I'll let you carry on, sir.